into our next financial year in 2022, we'll be able to be more active and engaging with yourselves more closely. So without further ado, I'd like to pass back the mic to my colleague Joseph, who will introduce our keynote speaker. Thanks, Joseph.
Thank you very much, Antoinette, for that warm welcome.
Recording in progress.
It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, joining us all the way from the UK. Jacqueline Brown has 16 years experience in global fashion industry, working for brands and retailers, including Puma, C&A, Russell Athletic, Animal, Fila, Wilson. And she lives and works in 4 different countries and continents. She's a professional fashion designer who birthed the African Fashion Guide, which is the only sourcing, consultancy, and information-based platform as a tool to educate, inform, retune the perceptions of African fashion and textile industry, a vehicle she sees for trade and development. Now, Jacqueline is an author of the coffee table book, Fashion Africa, an international public speaker, a university fashion lecturer, an African fashion business consultant, an industry researcher. Jacqueline, who owns a master's degree in ethical fashion and a master's in social research, is known for being an expert and most proudly an ambassador in the ethical African fashion landscape. Having spoken at elite events such as the House of Lords, London Eye European Commission, Brussels, Fashion Institute Technology, New York, Who's Next, Paris, to name but a few, she actively campaigns for a more responsible way of doing fashion business and doing it well in Africa. Jacqueline has built her name and is recognized internationally as a public speaker. As an African fashion business coach, with past clients that include Lena Pearl, Miroglio, Brighton Museum for Fashion Cities Africa Exhibition, Prospero World and British Council for their Enterprise Africa Summit, she uses her expertise to bring life African fashion-led projects. Jacqueline, with her unique tools and strategies, specializes in creating a sustainable solution that helps new and existing fashion businesses to successfully navigate the sourcing and manufacturing landscape of African fashion and textile industry. Jacqueline believes Africa is fashion's future and used her African fashion t-shirt campaign using fair trade, organic African cotton tees made in Africa by Africans to spread this message on the catwalks of the London Fashion Week. To Ghana, to LA, Jacqueline is unapologetically a champion for fashion in Africa, and her work, her reputation not only precedes her, but represents her enthusiasm and high belief as much people as possible in setting up businesses in Africa to build trade, contribute to Africa's GDP, and impact thousands of African lives using the vehicle of fashion. Wow. That is Jacqueline Brown. Please put your hands together so that she can be able to get to feel the warmth all the way from UK where she is. Your hands, please clap. And Jacqueline, if you had that introduction, it means now it's your turn to take over. Over to you.
It is. Thank you so much to the Msingi team. Just getting my notes up just to make sure that I'm going to stay on time for you all. So thank you for the introduction. Good to hear what everybody is doing. We're going to be together for about 90 minutes to 2 hours. It's going to be full on. If you can stick with me, you're going to get a lot from this. We're going to have some presentations and some physical training. Could I just ask you to raise your hands if you have brought in some clothing, some items of clothing with you, or products that you make for your business? maybe Joseph and team could let me know, or if you're online with us, then you can also just put a comment in the chat to say, yes, I've got something. I've got a couple items. I can't see everybody, so maybe the team can let me know that people are raising their hands and they have done it. That would be great to know.
I'm looking for.
Just anyone
I
to
can see
raise
some
hands,
hands.
they
Can
have
see.
brought in
Yeah.
some products. Also,
Yeah,
I can see
I can
the
see.
people,
Yeah.
a few hands in front. Yeah, because I can't see the whole room, so you have to bear with me, everybody. We're doing our best to make sure that, you know, we can support everybody here today. Okay, so some people have products. Great stuff. Let's kick off. I'd like to just get right into it. I can talk very fast, so if I am, you know, too fast and you miss something, do let me know and I'll try to go back to that bit. Let me just erase this whole page. Okay, so you should be able to see the full screen. All right, so I'm going to give you just a bit of an insight, just looking at, you know, the road ahead, how things have been, looking at forecasts and scenarios for Africa's textile and garments industries. You're going to see case studies as well as this, some which are local in your country, or in Kenya, and some within East Africa or the Horn of Africa as well. So let's dive in. Also, I know I've got Brown. That is my official married name, but I do also go by Shaw, which was the name I had, which is within my business. So don't get confused. It's the same person, just married name and single name, so to speak. So so I'm Jacqueline Shaw or Brown. I'm director of Africa Fashion Guide. So I want to just say once again, hello. And for those who don't know me, this is my company, Africa Fashion Guide. In the top corner is the name of the company. We've actually got a new logo now, which is blue and orange, like what I'm wearing today. I think the technical side has gone out, but hopefully it's all working okay. Team, if anything happens, do let me know as well in the chat so I can see that if there's any issues with tech as well. So the rest of the elements you can see on the screen are the different aspects of the business, the conferences. We actually did something in Nairobi. I think it was 2012, so it's quite a while ago. And different countries in Africa. I've got a book. I do organized trips, which we've done also to Kenya. Take people from around the world to come and meet manufacturers. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Antoinette. So we do sourcing trips. We have a sourcing platform. So if there's manufacturers here who'd be interested in joining our platform, do also speak to Antoinette, Joseph and team about an opportunity to be part of that B2B sourcing platform. As I said, I'm the author of the Coffee Table book, Fashion Africa, and I'm launching a couple more books for next year, so keep an eye out for that. The conference events, we have amazing speakers come and talk at our events. I do a lot of public speaking. I've done things with like British Council, and Joseph mentioned a few before. The fashion shows he mentioned, this was one of them. We bought the t-shirts, and these were actually made in Tanzania through local cotton and brought back to the catwalks. Some of the places I've been featured as well. So, you know, this is just giving you a bit of an insight about me. But most importantly, I'm all about Made in Africa as much as possible. And I share this message to the international market of designers, brands and retailers to bring more trade to the African continent. So today, where are we today when it comes to Africa's textile and garment industry? As I said, I'm going to talk about the present state, the road ahead, forecast, scenarios, and case studies. So it's going to be fast run back. You know, hopefully it'll give you some insights, maybe to things that you may not have realized or things you may already know, which would be great. So the present state. First of all, I say to people, why... Sorry, just making sure everything's okay. Just say to people, why Africa? Why is it such an important place right now for people to be considering doing the manufacturing or purchasing products from? I mean, you're based on the continent. There's a group of people outside of the continent who are recognizing that there's changes happening and the world's eyes are on the African continent. So those who are there, you can tap into that opportunity of a new market to be selling to. So I've always questioned, since I started my journey into exploring Africa's textile industry back in 2009, one of the main questions was, you know, can Africa's textile industry be the sourcing and production destination of the future? And what role can Africa play in this? Something that I was exploring. So looking at the present state, back in 2006, the UN's Human Development Report that they do regularly was saying how Africa loses about 28.4 billion, this was dollars, a year from shrinking trade. That's a problem. That's a problem. It should be increasing, and this is continental, so it's not for one country. So that's quite a lot when you're thinking about economics of a region. So you need trade to develop GDP, gross domestic product. These rates need to be up in order to see development in regions, in countries. And then you've got the fashion industry that predominantly employs women, and mostly women are making up most of the manufacturing in Africa, and also women constitute to most of the world's poor. So when a woman earns all benefits, because she obviously puts back into her community, into her family, and so it's important to employ women, to work with women, and support women, especially where in sub-Saharan Africa, 70 to 80% are women. So my journey has been supporting a change of wealth perception of property, looking at development and looking at ways of bringing trade to the African continent. And I use fashion as that because it employs mostly women, as mentioned earlier. This was from one of my trips to Ghana in 2010. And there's a campaign that was done by One. They were saying they agreed investing in women is a smart thing to do. It yields the highest social return. Women are the backbone of our communities in Africa. The future of Africa will be determined by tapping into women's potentials. That's where you unlock Africa's economic potential. So this is really important, that we work with women, build with women, and support women in Africa. When it comes to cotton, so when you look at the present state, you need to look at the raw materials, because this is part of the problem. Majority of Africa produces a lot of cotton, raw cotton, but the majority of it is exported in its raw material, in its raw form. So that means there's a lot of value lost. Your cotton's going out, which means you have to buy it back in its finished form. If you processed it and sold that fabric, that textile, then you're going to get more money for it. So you can see there's a big division between, the opportunity of, the value chain and the supply chain there. Fashion is something that can rebirth Africa's manufacturing industry, I believe. And this comes through making sure that the continent has enough of the right materials, the right resources, and a lot of the value is kept on the continent. So, for example, somewhere like China would have 65 billion cotton. I think the numbers probably changed a bit more since this research, but in a comparison at the time, that was 1 million spindles were in Africa continent wide. So you can see 1 million spindles for a whole continent. The infrastructure is very complex, and this is where Africa suffers. It's a problem. It's a major problem. And then you got pesticides. This was one of the reasons why I wanted to do my T-shirt campaign, to raise awareness about the cotton industry and supporting African cotton farmers. It's a major issue. This can cause poisoning and endosulfans, doing things more natural. Fashion can support organic, fair trade, all of this. And then over in West Africa, they are one of the largest cotton producers in the world. But again, it's only a small percent that is being turned into textiles on the coast, etc. Most of it is going to somewhere like Asia for processing. And then those textiles are then re-imported at a value of three times the value. So do you like that? Would you like selling something in its raw form and then buying it back in its finished products for 3 times the amount? It doesn't make sense. This needs to change, and you can be part of that. So what's the road ahead? What's the next step now? As I mentioned, ethical fashion. That's an opportunity because it's about building sustainable business. This can be done. This can be woven into Africa's manufacturing industry from now. It doesn't have to. Don't have to wait until things go wrong, or things like what happened in Bangladesh happens somewhere in Africa. God forbid. Things can be done better from now. It's about being responsible and considered in your sourcing, in your manufacturing method. Another issue that really bothers me, and I'm there coming from the UK, Europe, is secondhand clothing. Most Europeans and Americans dispose of around 150,000 million tons of unwanted clothing and textiles each year, dumping that in Africa. It's consumerism, inflation. They say in Europe we consume between 2 to 3 planets worth of natural resources. One of the things that they kept saying during the COP 27 or 27? Yes. Africa, where most of a lot of is suffering from the problems that the so-called first world is causing when it comes to climate change, when it comes to globalization and the impact on the environment and so forth. Africa's feeling the brunt of that, yet the most impact is being caused by the global, the global north, so to speak. So that's a problem as well. And that doesn't sit nicely with myself, who does a lot of work in Africa. And I'm also based in UK, Europe. You obviously know the words Salaula, Matumba, Obroni, where they say in Ghana, for example, a dead white man's clothing. These are problems to the clothing industry in African countries. Secondhand clothing, its industry is growing. Actually, it's something that, especially because of fast fashion, is growing. But it affects trade. It undermines local textiles and garment industry in developing countries, and it's caused. There's been I think it has impacted, or but basically it's happening around the same time that the production is declining. So the growth of secondhand clothing is happening at the same time as the production in sub-Saharan Africa is declining. It's affecting it. It definitely is affecting it. And the global pandemic has only made it worse. Okay, it's caused the industry in Africa to be on its knees, got a lot more, even more cheap imports, and we've had situations where Rwanda's President Kagame stood his ground on not receiving this, but then the USA refused to continue the AGOA, continue to export and have this agreement unless these countries decided to basically give in and allow the US to send their second-hand clothing there, which is a bit of bullying tactics in my opinion. And I've even mentioned that it's not good what's happening, especially in Ethiopia right now, which has had its own challenges right now when it's come to political crises, and the USA is pulling out the AGOA. For those who don't know, the AGOA is the African Growth and Opportunities Act, which preferential duties with particular African countries and exporting to the US. So it's another opportunity to increase international trade. So if the US pulls it out, that's not helpful. And they're pulling out of Ethiopia because of what's going on. It's not a good thing. It's understandable, but it's not a good thing. But Africa is resilient and is determined to bounce back its own industries, and we're seeing more of this at the moment. So the next phase, in my opinion, is fashion made in Africa. Okay? I created this map. It was part of my first book that I built myself, and I did like a mapping, which was an analysis of the textile industry, the manufacturing industry in Africa on the left hand side. It was looking at the ethical, so each of these I had, which was looking at different aspects of manufacturing, sustainability, who were cotton producers, etc., etc. This is not all inclusive. Obviously, there's things being done in Chad, and it was looking at aspects of particular aspects of where designers in the book that I had were manufacturing. And so you can see there was a lot in Kenya, a lot in the East Africa region. And I broke down the steps of, processing cotton as well. So the book was quite in depth. It was a coffee table book and an academic book in some ways. And there was a professor, Dorothy McCormick, of the University of Nairobi, who did say, quite importantly, how cotton to clothing value chain is broken and Africa as a whole. But a gap exists between cotton production and cloth manufacture. This is what I was talking about earlier. That's what she was saying in her writings. And she said it's good to help trade in Africa by sourcing from fair trade and artisans. This trade helps communities to become independent suppliers. So there's a good case for producing in Africa and keeping a lot of the value on the continent. Africa's got a cost-effective workforce. It's capable of producing majority of the world's garments at a low cost with duty-free access from countries like Ethiopia to almost 85% of the world. But then this could also be an opportunity for some countries or some regions to try to take advantage of that, because it could attract people who are seeking of these relationships that's being built. So next for you. Manufacturing in Africa, doing things in your country and selling that as your story. Okay, telling the story. There's a saying that facts tell, stories sell. If I told you the stories of these women and the embroidery work that they're doing, the kangas as well, if I told you about their story, that's going to sell it more than just give you all those things. Because they want differentiation. People want difference. So what's happening next to can support you is something called the African Continental Free Trade Area, or the agreement. And it's created an opportunity, so I should just speak for Africa as a whole, because it covers the continent, and in the global textile value chain. So it means that you could have cotton in one country. There's a new organic cotton ginnery in Burkina Faso, for example, in West Africa. So if you had the cotton, you wanted to get it ginned locally in your region, or you could do the same in someone like Tanzania, maybe. And you're growing cotton in your country. At least you can, get it processed locally. It's going to be free trade, so it reduces your taxes and so forth. Then you can produce that into fabrics, and you can sell that into other countries in Africa or internationally. But the more you do locally on the continent, you're going to save in cost in some ways. Okay, it's an opportune moment. So like this, I'm going to give you some examples. This was a factory visited in Tanzania, where they do a lot of the whole processing, from the cotton, generally the processing of the cotton, weaving it or knitting it, and then making it into clothing. You can see here, or t-shirts and basic products. So this Common Customs Union is created reduction in traffics up to 90% on goods that are traded within the area of all the countries that are, have agreed. They've signed up for this. So with more investment in textile-related machinery, it can actually boost your textile impact from that region. So let's look at the forecast. Where are we going now? Excuse me. So know where you go. You kind of have to know what's the kind of situation as well. There is this mindset, as I mentioned earlier, that people are seeing Africa in a particular way. Coming outside of Africa, people see disease, poverty, foreign aid, corruption, charity, famine. They see all of these things. And then there's those who are on the continent, and there's those like myself who travel to the continent annually, usually before the pandemic, and will see, go to multiple countries, and they see opportunity, capital, trade, creativity, investment, business, entrepreneurship, enterprise, jobs, business. All of these things are being seen by some people. We want to get more people seeing what's on the right-hand side than those seeing what's on the left-hand side. But the question is, what do you say? What do you say about your own continent. So there is, this was from the World Bank, I believe, or the UN, and it was saying that by 2050, a quarter of humans will be African. That's exciting. And one of the reasons is because the African continent is growing in population. So they say by 2100, there'll be about 12 billion, 40% of those will be African. So even if you're from the continent or you're not, there's a reason to be doing business in Africa. There's a reason to be selling to Africa as well, because there's a growing number of people, growing population. And a lot of eyes are on there. So you're there, you've got the opportunity where the world is looking at what's coming next. You're already there. So Africa really is the future. For one continent to take up nearly 40% of the world, over 40% of the world, according to World Bank's or UN figures. That is, that's exciting. That's exciting. Back in the day, McKinsey was saying how Africa is the world's second growth region. Poverty was falling, and many have gone to the world's consuming, join the world's consuming classes. So they're, raising their position. Some see it as just the African market. Some see those in South Africa as a group of people they call the Black Diamonds, hence the picture, because they like to buy a lot of luxury products from like Italy and things like this. And there is a group of people who love to do a lot of shopping, like in Nigeria. In the Global Blue says how Nigerian annual fashion shopping is thought to be around 700 million. That's a lot of shopping. That's a lot of shopping. So there's a market of people who want to buy product and they want quality products as well. So scenarios. The challenge for fashion made in Africa, there is a loss of value I've mentioned a few times in growing textile, second-hand clothing, logistics of intracontinental trade. I'm sure you've experienced that, trying to get particular things from one country to another. Low productivity. I won't read all of these, but you can see many are dependent on the AGOA. They couldn't do it without it. And lacks technology, can lag behind China in areas like speed to market, cost, labor, etc. So there's lack of technical skill set as well. Some people have to bring in somebody from Sri Lanka or India to share those skills. There's nothing wrong with that. If it's going to make your production output better, bring somebody in, train up your people, give them the opportunity to learn more, to do better, and then you can keep that business there in your country. Okay. I won't go into this one as well, just more figures. Facts tell again, don't they? So, the AGOA was something that was supported. This is the landscape. This is something that's happened. When it arrived in 2000 in sub-Saharan Africa, it created hundreds of thousands of jobs, okay? And, Africa's power sector was exporting garments, and the numbers were rising exponentially. It was a good thing at that point. It was giving Africa more trade. But then somewhere like Ghana, before the 2000s, it had 25,000 in its textile industry, but today that's shrunk. I told you there's a shrinking trade, and there's lots of elements that have affected this. There's around 3,000. Nigeria had about 250 in the 70s. Now it's around 25. But it's starting to grow up again. I've been seeing this happening. African countries could invest locally as much as possible in creating jobs, in building textile garment manufacturing industries, building economy. Now case studies. See where I am. Yes, case studies. Small scale production. When I first started this, I remember there was these two companies, one in West Africa called Tulips. They worked with a batik company called Global Mamas. So Tulips was a designer, and Global Mamas was the manufacturer of batik textiles. You can see in the picture, and they made some clothing as well. In East Africa, a company called Soko, and they produce for ASOS in their Made in Africa, now Made in Kenya collection. Something that I mentioned to you about was a t-shirt campaign, and Joseph mentioned it earlier. You can see examples of this there, of these what I talked to the catwalks. These were organic, 100% made in Africa, 100% African cotton, fair trade t-shirts, and they were African. The only thing I got, the t-shirts were printed in the UK, because when I brought them over, then I taught them to catwalk shows after that. But even the inks were water-based. They had no toxins in them, so They were good t-shirts, they were African t-shirts, and they were all about campaigning for the African cotton farmer. Around the concept of case studies, what we've seen is a growth of fashion shows, magazines, books like my own, fashion events. All of these things have been growing internationally. Even international catwalk designers like Burberry, Vivienne Westwood, who does things in Kenya, Marc Jacobs, and others were tapping into the wax print or the kitenge visuals of of those type of fabrics, because that's seen as very African. Even you can see the designer at the bottom, the coon who uses the shuka cloth. I think he was actually the designer for that brand, was actually grew up or born in Kenya, I believe. He's or live, but a lot of, let's put it that way. Says, talking about this, Susie Menkes on the left-hand side, was at the International Herald Tribune. They did a conference which was all about Africa at the time. It was in 2012, held in Rome, and they were talking about Italy versus Africa and the concept of craftsmanship being the big thing, and how that's kind of where the luxury for Africa was being seen. International, right now, case studies are around international development projects, which are popping up and focus on Africa. Like the International Trade Center, they have do a lot of things in Kenya as well, in East Africa. Ethical Fashion Africa program, that is. Discovered in Africa was something that Franca Cesani did with Yux online. Fashion Designers Without Borders, Fashion for Development. So fashion is often the first step for industrialization, and it can play a major role in alleviating poverty as well. And as mentioned, it taps into women and gives opportunity for women to support their economy or their communities. And what's most exciting is the African-owned funded grants and projects. So all those other ones are great, but many of them are based in Italy or the UN or whatever. And these ones have been founded by Africans, Africans in the diaspora, Africans in Africa. So the African Fashion Foundation supports designers, African designers, and started by somebody in Ghana.
Else, or shall we start?
Sorry. To mute. The Birimian Ventures is a new one as well, supporting designers, African designers. Impact Fund for African Creatives, again, it says what it does, and started by a Ghanaian, and the Fralian Group as well. So these are projects that are out right now. You can go and look them up and see how you can tap into them. There's opportunities out there now. And other case studies, you have to remember that, the garment production in Africa, when it comes to East Africa, every job in the garment sector can generate another 5 jobs. Okay, because once you've got a seamstress needs somebody to cut a pattern, somebody to do quality checks, somebody to pack it up, somebody to dispatch. You could need all these other jobs around that. Okay, so it's producing more jobs and having a complete supply chain from the raw material to the finished garment in one place keeps the value addition in the local economy, and that's what I'm all about, is supporting that. So I'm going to flick through these, and these are just going to be loads of different examples of African businesses who are doing great things. Mafi is from Ethiopia, or Mafi, and taps into their traditional Ethiopian cloths using Ethiopian cotton. Axe is by a designer in northern Ghana. Just one moment. In northern Ghana. So you see the bags that are there in the picture. I mean, you're quite probably used to some of these baskets you see made in Sisa, Raffia, elephant grass, or other in your country. And she tapped into it and created these beautiful bags from that same technique of doing these basket making. Beautiful bags, all different silhouettes. So there's one which is I believe in Kenya. I don't think they also work in some other East African countries, but Basket Room. And so you can see, you know, the kind of the weaving of these bags as well. Soko Kenya, I showed you there. There I am taking a team to meet the manufacturers there at Soko. So garment manufacturing is still doing very strongly there, and they tap into a lot of fashion revolutions, points of I made your clothes or who made your clothes, and doing sustainable business there. In Sandstorm, Kenya, who do bags, and you can see they brought another group to meet with them as well. Great team who do that, so do leather bags. Over in Ghana, Studio 189 by Rosario Dawson and Abrima on the left-hand side. They do a lot with West Africa, batiks and woven cloths as well, and other locally, works with a lot of artisans as well in West Africa. Again, in Kenya, another bag maker. Do a lot of leather in Kenya, which is really good to do bag products and, you know, offer this to the world. Global Mum, as I mentioned earlier, in Ghana, doing batik work there, which has become quite popular now. Makio in Nigeria uses their traditional hand printed technique, which is adire, which is similar to like a batik, and they do it on things like silks and gorgeous fabrics like that. And this has been seen in places like Selfridges in London. So, you know, however you present it to the world, you can bring Africa's fashion to new markets in new ways. Adama Perry in Senegal, she's even like, you know, she does fashion shows as well in Paris and in Senegal. She's had Naomi Campbell recently at an event, and she's kind of reviving the bubble that actually you see she's wearing now, bringing new light to traditional African wear. So that's really exciting to see. Loza Maliombo in Ivory Coast, she taps into some of the kente or the country cloth, the woven cloths in the West Africa as well, and she's bringing light to made in Africa, made in West Africa. Tongora from Senegal, who Beyonce's been wearing her clothes, and her brand has really risen, and she taps into 3D technology. You can see there, to do shows and presenting her designs, and it's like the world is changing, and Africa can tap into these new resources. So, you know, what could you do? How can you think outside of the box? These are examples of what is happening. And then the retail industry. Back into a Nigerian American girl called Kalechi, who decided to start a clothing shop called Zuva, because I think the finances were needed to be managed a bit better after a few years, because it did so well so quickly. She started with $500. She made $2 million in sales within a couple of years. So you can imagine managing that as a young woman, and, you know, just wanted to give her friends who loved her clothing that she was wearing, giving them an opportunity to buy African-inspired, African-made clothing, and, you know, the sales rose quite quickly. Industry Africa as well, which was started by was she from Vogue Arabia or Vogue Dubai? But yeah, she started this business, so showcasing African fashion and doing it so beautifully, so professional. So getting onto this website is like really, it's a good move. And Nancy Marketplace, from the gentleman who started Kisua in South Africa. He's a Ghanaian, but he's now got the Anansi Marketplace, which again is African products are sold internationally. They work very closely with DHL. Afrikorea in Paris as well. I believe the owners are from Mali, but they huge marketplace of African designers. You can be selling there if you're not already. That's a really good one to tap into and get international sales. The Folklore is a physical shop and a online store started by an American African, and the shop is in New York, doing awesome things there. So Africa today, you know, it was previously seen as the hopeless continent, the dark continent. That's how the world would see Africa. But today they're recognizing the lion continent, Africa rising or African risen already, in my opinion. The UK is recognizing this and doing new business with the African continent. The governments and the royal families are connecting more with what's happening on the ground and with people, and connecting because we Brexited, so Africa's an opportunity. Like I say, it's opportunity. But Africa has had a major transformation, and it is transforming even more. It remains bright. It's got a great outlook, even with its own political challenges, and that's happening in the world. There's opportunity there. Whilst you are there on the continent, you see this place. Wherever you're positioned there, you can tap into your own continent and export amazing products to the world. So, I won't read that one. Just to remind you how Africa is the future. For those, as I mentioned, who wants to tap into the marketplace, I have the Fashion Africa Trade Expo's online sourcing agency. Do get in touch, with the team, Antoinette, Joseph, to let me know, and we can look at, if you're doing, that's if you do manufacturing though. That's if you do manufacturing, and see about giving you opportunity to be on that and opening your network to new buyers. So it's my website. It's getting redone at the moment, but reach out if you want to learn more about any of those things. So that's the first presentation I wanted to do. We've got a few more things for you today, but is there any questions? Could we kind of go around the room and see if there's any questions?
Thank you. Thank you very much for that first round of presentation. I'll request for my assistant with the mic and the spray to come in case there are any questions. This is your moment. Meanwhile, please monitor if there are any questions online. We'll come to them as well. Any questions so far from the first presentation? Was it clear? Yeah. So far, no questions. Online, are there any questions?
I can't see any questions online,
all right,
but that's fine.
Okay.
Hopefully you got some new insights, and that helps you with how you're perceiving things, or how the rest of the world is perceiving Africa as well, which could help with your thinking through. So the next thing I wanted us to do, which is I'm going to call you out. So Joseph will be running around a little bit with in the room for the next kind of like 15 minutes. I'm going to ask different people to do a 3-minute, I say 3-minute pitch, okay, and to present to us your brand and sell it in a way that is, if you've got a new buyer. And I don't know if you have a website, if you can let us know, and if Antoinette, if you can get this on the screen, if you're with us still, or if not, then I can try and put it up and I'll share the screen. But if you can give us your website, I want to have a look and do like a quick brand audit of the website to see its strengths and its opportunities, etc. Do like a SWOT. So first of all, just a couple of businesses, and literally just 3 minutes. So I want you to go straight to the point, explain what your business is, what you do, who it's for, and pitch it as if I'm a buyer. So Joseph,
Okay.
I'll say just grab anybody.
Thank you. I'm sure we shall get a few. Can I get a mic, please? Please state your name. You have 3 minutes. Assume I'm the buyer. Please look at the camera so she can see you. She is the buyer.
More specific, which is great. I just think in the pitch it wasn't as strong as the website. But going to the website, I'm like, yeah, this would be, if I was a buyer when I wanted to manufacture products in Kenya, or in
recording in progress.
If I wanted to manufacture products locally, I could easily do that. I would say in your pitch is more about telling people what the benefits are over the functions, because there's many other manufacturers, and there's more coming up on the list now. When it comes to manufacturing in Africa, and what do you have to offer that makes you different? What problem are you solving? What's the story? And so that could be done in the pitch. I think the website really is good at showcasing that, and it looks like something that probably would be of interest to you, the great printing services. If this is all done locally in the country, even better. You know, I know people who would want these services. Absolutely. I guess it just depends on the middle to see that. But yeah, great one. And Celebra, is that how you say the company name?
Yeah. Where's the...
I know the lady's name, and was it Celebra, the website? I don't know if you can still see me. If you just repeat your name, please.
So my name is Priscilla Muchinyi, but the company is Cerebral.
Yeah, okay. So your website isn't finished, you said, which is fine.
It's being revamped.
Okay, that's understandable. Yeah, mine too. But yeah, I like the fact. Sorry. Need people to put their mute on as they come in. Yeah. So what I liked from what you did was, you know, you had your key piece that you wanted to showcase, and you know, you were selling that one in with the bomber jackets, and you gave me the benefits that it could be worn in different types of environments as well. So it makes it seem as something that is I could use for more than one reason. So that was, you know, I love that side of the pitch. Obviously having the model their health as well. But there was a point of difference, which I think, Daniel, with your pitch, if you could give the benefits of, you know, we have tailors who have been in the industry for 25 years, what you did, and they have top skills in manufacturing. They can bring to you, and quality has been high standards, or you're getting products that have been sold internationally throughout the world. So we have retailers like blah, 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 who have bought this product, so buy a product from somebody who also makes for the American market or the European market. Things like, it makes people want to buy into that, you know? So hopefully that was of interest for you. I wanted us to look into the production. So I know many of you are doing manufacturing, you're getting this done for the international market. One of the main problems or questions that people say when it comes to Africa is quality is not always good. Quality doesn't work very well. This is a problem. Joseph, I'm about to do a presentation, would take about, should we have a 5-minute break? So come back at 12:30, and then we will finish up an hour after that, within an hour.
That's okay, we can have a 5-minute break.
A bathroom or
yes.
comfort break, yeah?
And there are a few who hadn't brought their products, so this is your quick 5-minute break.
Okay, so yeah, come back literally at 12:30, and then we will kick off with a short presentation on manufacturing, and yeah, we'll go forward from there.
Okay.
We'll do the exercise. Okay.
Thank you.
So
can put some
see you
music.
in 5 minutes. Yeah.